back, listeners, to For the Mind. I'm with the one, the only.
Jennifer
Woo!
Wynn.
Welcome. Jennifer is one of my old coworkers. She is the female version of me, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say we match each other's energy no matter what we're doing. And I think that's like one of the funnest things about like our friendship is just no matter what it is, it's just going to be a good time. So
Oh, yeah.
but
We're here for a good time, not a long time.
that's right.
All right. So, little background where we met, I guess. ABC. It's Action Behavior Centers. It's a center for kids with autism. You want to kind of explain what we did over there?
Yeah. When I started with ABC, I started out as a registered behavior technician, which is basically a entry level into behavior health. This is field specific to children who are diagnosed with autism. And yeah, we kind of met when we were both therapists there, and we didn't work on the same team, but we worked for the same clinic, which pretty much is working on the same team. But yeah, it was a really cool time. We didn't get to work together too long, but it was really fun. I loved it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I remember the first day meeting you, and I was like, oh, yeah.
And it's fun because we actually didn't even meet in clinic. We met in home, which is a totally different feel.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
I mean, in home versus in center, you see two totally different clientele and honestly, a different type of therapy too. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that was pretty cool. And then we ended up working in clinic together, which was
Yes.
awesome. I loved it.
Yes. And like you mentioned, like it is a total different like dynamic like in center and at home. Like at home you have to juggle being with parents, siblings, other
Exactly.
things. So it's a good thing and it can be kind of
Right.
tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm born and raised in Texas. I have an older sister and a younger brother. We're all in our 20s and 30s. We have parents who live in Hutto, Texas now. And my parents are both immigrants from the Vietnam War. And they've been here since the 80s. I grew up in Houston. Around 2008, we moved up to the Hutto, Austin area, and that's kind of where I like planted roots for a little bit. And then last year, I moved back to Houston for a job. But yeah,
Cool.
planning on
That's
moving back to
awesome.
Boston. So I'm excited.
You mentioned that your parents came here from the Vietnam War. Um, have they told you like about their experience coming over, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, both my parents have been through so much that they have instilled, life lessons in me. One of the biggest takeaways is that they are just like through and through hustlers. Like no matter what they're doing, always hustling, looking for the next thing, always keeping their hands busy. And in some good ways and bad ways, like I've inherited that too. I'm always just looking for the next best thing for me, and if that has to do with like my mental health, and that's what it is. Sometimes it's financial well-being. So no matter what it is I'm focused on, I go in 100%. I mean, that doesn't mean, their other lessons didn't, you know, resonate with me either. It's just definitely learning how to stretch a dollar is something that I really, really value from my upbringing mostly. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So you mentioned mental health. So
Yeah.
this is a mental health
Yes.
podcast. Can you tell me a little about like your beliefs on
Yeah.
mental health or
So
yeah.
it's funny because there's not a great word for mental health or behavioral health at all in Vietnamese. It's actually really hard to explain to my parents, which I'm sure is true in other cultures too. So kind of explaining to my parents what I do for work is kind of challenging because they ask all of these very hard hitting questions like, oh, what, so are they crazy? Like, what's wrong with them mentally? That's the main thing that I hear a lot from my parents. And, you know, they just don't have the resources to really understand. So it's up to me to kind of spread that knowledge. And it starts with a small conversation, like, oh, no, nothing's wrong with these children. We're just teaching them fundamentals on a 1-to-1 ratio. And I think starting off the conversation like that is really important. Kind of getting rid of the taboo of like autism, mental health in general, and just kind of putting it in a way where other people can digest it, whether it's on their schedule or not. I think just advocating for people is important, and that's what I really really like about my parents and just how they understand things, because maybe once upon a time it wasn't always that way. They're really traditional and it's really hard for them to understand things, but through time and seeing their kids kind of grow up in America, a place that they fought so hard for us to be in, they're starting to really open up and understand those American values a little bit more.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm in school for clinical mental health counseling, and I've read several textbooks regarding like multiculturalism and like different beliefs. As you mentioned, um, the Vietnamese, Asian uh, parents who have came over, they, like you said, have somewhat of a negative, like negative belief
Yeah.
towards it. Would you say? Just like they're like, oh, what? Why aren't you keeping it within like the family? Like we can help you.
Yeah, I that's so hard for me because I see it from my parents' point of view, which is truly that, no one really took the time to teach it to them. But then also in the same breath, no one sat down and taught us what exactly is mental health. We kind of had to learn it ourselves. Like, for me as a millennial, I feel like I learn a lot of perspectives and views through social media. And it's up to me to like fact check,
Mm,
right? Like, what are my beliefs? What do I want to like invest my time in? And the same goes to my parents. Something as foreign as mental health, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of priming, right? So I think right now
mhm,
we're not seeing any, positive connotation with it because we simply have work to do, like every day. Every day is a conversation. And hopefully one day it gets to a point
mhm,
where like the world is talking about it. Maybe it does take someone who represents that group of people to speak up. And so I feel like everyone can do their part by just having a conversation, especially with their parents, the people who may have kind of,
oh yeah.
instilled some of that trauma in us. And it's no one's fault. It's just, are we going to listen to each other? Are we going to give each other the space to communicate?
Hmm. Oh yeah, and that I respect you so much for taking the time to try to educate your parents on the aspects of the mental health, but also balancing the respect level. Be like, if you're overwhelming them, or you can tell that they don't feel too comfortable, like that. It's great that you balance that. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. And then you also mentioned social media. Um, this is a little bit of a jump to another topic. But
Do
you
it.
know, um, how would you say social media had an impact on
Oh man.
mental health?
I mean, mental health aside, if you're looking at social media, like look how many hours a day you spend. I mean, on Sundays, I get you spent X amount of time on your phone per day. And I hate to admit it, but now that, I work in a job where it's flexible and I am on my phone all the time, I'm averaging like 6 to 8 hours of content a day. And that's like on a weekday, on the weekend, if I'm just aimlessly scrolling, I would say that 70% of my time is on a screen. And so what am I doing? I'm just consuming content, consuming information. Um, but yeah, it's very important for your mental health
Yeah.
because you're reading all these things that are
Hmm.
happening today, and some things may instill fear into us, or you know, falsify
Mm,
information. And like I said before, you got to do your
oh,
own research. You got to figure out what you do believe in and kind of
mm,
take a deep dive into that. So as far as the tie between mental health and social media, I think it's very important to invest your time into something that soothes you. So people who like to watch people like stream and like that's therapeutic, fine. That's fine by me. So I think this
mm,
generation is definitely going to see some data towards technology and your mental health for sure.
mhm. Oh yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. And what I've learned in grad school concerning social media is um, the tendency is for people to say like a major event happens, like a newsworthy event, and it's like all over social media. People like post, but they aren't doing the background
Right.
research to see if these things that like CNN, Fox News, World Star are posting to see if they are
Yeah.
actually correct. Um, there's a specific term for it. I look it up on my textbook, but it's like social media something. But like I've talked to my wife about that. It's like it's crazy how social media influences people. Because I mean, a lot of my friends they posted um, about George Floyd killings, or like really him. But like today, there's nothing, and I'm just like, so were you just passionate about that
Right.
at that time, or like, because it kind of makes you seem fake,
Well, it's
because you only care about when
right.
something
I
happens.
mean, I think I just had a similar conversation to this, and it's like the rate that we're consuming information too is alarming. Like you said, we're worried about one thing one day, the next day we're worried about like a finale of a show. It's whatever social media
Oh
is
yeah.
feeding us, that's what we're interested in that time. So I agree that we're taking things in at a very alarming rate to the point where we're desensitized with everything. Like I'm sure but
Oh,
recently, everything that happened in Hawaii, like that's
oh yeah.
devastating, and I haven't seen any media coverage over it like in 2 days, and that's so sad. Like
Hmm.
that's something that we definitely need to focus on. And I mean, that's just one of the few things in the world that's
Yeah.
going on. And it makes me embarrassed as a nation that, like, we're so forgetful and we're just always looking for the next headline to focus on.
Oh yeah. Um, and piggybacking on that, keeping Hawaii in our prayers. I'm actually gonna set up a little donation
Nice.
thing. So if my followers wanna do a donation, it's gonna be up probably for I'm gonna do like 2 weeks. And all the proceeds are gonna go. think I'm gonna do like Red Cross. I have to just research a little bit. But yeah, I've keeping everyone out there in my prayers, and people don't
No, don't go
don't go
there
there.
right now, y'all. Just wait a little.
Not right now,
Like,
unless you
just
are there to help.
wait. It's
Unless you're
okay.
there to help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, it was. I was pretty shocked when I heard the news about families only getting $700. I was like, I got a stimulus check
Right.
more than
And we were
that.
just like
Like,
hanging out at home.
yeah. And these people are literally fighting for like a
Right.
home or like mourning loved ones. Like they're starting from scratch. And what is $700?
Barely feed you. Barely.
But yeah, yeah. Anyways, let's see. Let's get into some
Let's do it.
questions. All right. So, what is your definition of mental health?
My definition of mental health, it is the state in which your livelihood is dependent on the things that happen chemically in your brain. as simply put,
Boom.
I think people maybe take it too lightly or not seriously enough. I've been following this account about having high cortisol levels, that equates to high stress levels, and how simply just doing like primal sounds will like regulate
Mhm.
you. And like, I never understood it until meditation, like all those calming sounds that helps you, that grounds you, and those things are really important. So mental health for me, just it's wherever you're at in your journey. There's no good, bad, right or wrong, really. It's wherever you're at, and you allow people in as much as you want to let them in, and you shut them out if you need to shut them out. I don't think there's a wrong or right process to go through things, or a timeline, frankly. I think if you truly suffer with depression or anxiety or any other mental health illness, that there's no like magic pill fix all situation. It's an ongoing thing that you actively choose to do every single day. So for me, mental health is like every day I'm gonna wake up and make myself my silly little drink, my little tea in the morning and my breakfast, like keep my routine. That's what keeps me regulated, and that's what mental health means to me, is keeping that routine so that I'm always regulated and never escalated.
Yeah, and I 150% agree with you about keeping keeping a routine. It's crazy how the little things you see in your life improve just by committing to a routine. Like for me, since I work night shift, I have like a whole
I bet.
different routine compared to everyone else. Like, so I work from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Um, and so when I come off of work, I usually stay up until maybe like 10 to 12 just because of my ADHD medication wearing off. Um, but then I sleep from 12 to 8:39. Go make my coffee. Um, I'm actually starting to actually engage in try some meditation because it's crazy. Even if you do it for 5 minutes, I guarantee you will see
Yes.
a difference. And people can be like, "Oh no, no way, meditation is not for me. That's hippie." No, it is good
Yes.
for your mind.
Definitely.
Um, and like the stuff I've read in grad school about the benefits of meditation, it's like so powerful. Like everything in your brain is just activated, relaxed, and you feel good.
I agree completely. Completely. I mean, even just sitting in silence is nice too. Like for me, I mean, I always have dim lighting. I always have this lamp on behind me, and I don't know, just like to desensitize, whether it's taking away sound and like just, putting in like
Mm-hmm.
music or something, and or turning off the light. Light is a big one for me. If I'm trying to relax, the lights are off. No big light in this house.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh
little
yeah.
lights only.
Oh yeah. That is exactly like my wife. She's like, if I am sleeping, like
Yes.
blackout curtains, sleep mask on, with pink noise playing in the
Yes.
background.
Yes.
um, let's see. Da-da-da-da-da. All right. I want to talk about sport a little bit. A little bit. Did you play any sport?
Yes, I played I played
Okay.
tennis mostly, and volleyball and basketball, but I took tennis probably the most seriously when I was oh, that's my fucking that's
Oh,
my parking lot.
Houston.
Yeah, Houston things. Um, Anyways, tennis was the only sport that I, really took seriously, or just like, really enjoyed thoroughly. Yeah, I'll play
hmm
tennis now if anyone ever wants to pick up a game, or like, let's do
Oh,
it.
I'm down. I got
You
courts
know,
in my
I am
neighborhood.
so
I'm
glad
down.
that pickleball is all of a sudden like super popular. Like I do
We have a
you?
pickleball thing too. I'm stoked. I need to get into it. I keep
I,
telling my wife, I
is
was
it
like,
just a mix
I
of
need to get into
tennis?
it. And she's
Is
like,
it
it's so
tennis and ping
sweaty.
pong? He said
That's my
yes.
dog.
That's what it-
Um, probably barking at a shadow. Yeah, it's a mixture of tennis and
Yeah.
ping pong,
Okay.
but I know
I
people go
know.
hard.
We
And
do.
that is for sure. Um, all right. Let's see. Do you have a role model
A role model.
or someone you look
Well, for a really long time, I had a fantastic mentor that I met whenever I worked at the University of Texas Child Development Center. She was my boss at the time, and she kind of guided me to all my other jobs. She would get a manager role and kind of take me with her, but she just taught me so much about compassion and understanding people, and that how to bridge that gap between policy and practice. And that's really hard to do, especially if you're coming from childhood development, and people with special needs specifically, but children with special needs, even harder to be advocates for whenever you work for like a nonprofit. But she just taught me how to hire, the kind of personalities you want to look for, the hard hitting questions you want to ask when you want to find high quality people. And that kind of led to my personal life, like who are the kinds of people you want to keep in your circle? Who are the people who are a reflection of the kind of people you would want to represent you if you're not around? And just how to problem solve with people you love, people you work with, how to distinguish the two. She was just an overall really, really great advocate for, the community of the medically fragile. She taught me a lot about Black women in the workforce, and to
Mhm.
how to be an advocate for all women who are minorities. And I think that was really important in my early 20s because now, in the role that I'm in, whenever I'm looking for someone who I want to fill in a manager role, I'm looking for those people who are compassionate. I'm listening for those statements and their answers to questions that tell me that they desire a work life balance. Because if you don't have that, I don't want you. Like you're doing the job, but
Oh
you're
yeah.
not doing it with your heart, and you don't have time for people like that.
So, anyways, I was ignoring the signs that I was definitely not doing well. And so I ended up going uh, to my psychiatrist, and I got diagnosed with very high anxiety and some depression. And that's something I'm just totally like open about, just because I want to destigmatize the beliefs about mental health. Like, people think that you need to be crazy to go and talk to a therapist, and that's not the case at all. Like, even if your life is perfect, nothing is going wrong, the benefits of going and talking to a therapist are monumental. Like, you can, it's just another person to talk to, and they aren't in your life like 24/7, and so they can offer their own experiences. But anyways, I ended up basically burning out at my job, and so I sat down with my wife and was like, hey, I think I need to take some time off to really focus on my mental health, because if I keep going down this road, it's not going to be pretty. And so I was lucky enough to be able to take some time. I took probably a month off of work, and now I'm seeing a therapist, have a new job, and change doesn't happen immediately, and change can be scary for some people, and that's totally okay. It's totally okay to be nervous, because you're in this constant cycle and it's getting broken up, and so you're gonna feel uncomfortable. Um, but
I
yeah.
agree completely. Like, I think there is a lot of, I don't know, like taboo around like getting a diagnosis. You know, all of my friends that I talk
Mm-hmm.
to, I can probably diagnose them with anxiety. I hear it and it resonates with me. It, strikes a chord with me whenever I hear it through them. And I'm just like, I don't know. You have to want to seek help. Like you said before, it's not like you have to be super crazy to go see a psychiatrist. Just like I don't have to break a leg to go see my doctor every year, you know? It's a normal checkup, and I kind of wish those things could go hand in hand. All those questions that you ask, that they ask you in a waiting room before you get seen by a doctor. Why can't that be replaced with a mini psyche valve? Like why can't we provide some kind of support for people who aren't dealing with a physical illness? Why can't we have psychiatry and general practice doctors work with each other and make it more accessible to get that kind of health care? um, I agree. It's
Oh
total
yeah.
taboo. It's like it's so hard to talk to others. I am also diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And 3 years ago, I found out that I have trauma in me, and that that's the reason why I have anxiety and depression. It's a never-ending cycle, kind of like the chicken and the egg, and that
Oh yeah.
therapy alone doesn't fix everything that's going on with me. What regulates me is the medicine. And I'm not telling everyone to, hey, go get a prescription of, Prozac or whatever, but go to a professional, get some
Mm-hmm.
insight, talk to multiple psychiatrists. But just because the first one you don't like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that should, determine if you take your mental health seriously or not. Find a couple of physicians that align with what you're looking for. It took me two or three tries to find one that I can just have a normal rhythm with and understands me already and has recommended me great solutions. And I'm not a pillar of health in by any means, but I choose to live my life every single day. I choose to fight mental health and be an advocate for others, hopefully in some sort of setting, whether it's with friends or professionally. But I want to be there for people, just like people have been there for me. So I'm really glad you brought that up because I
Woo! Retweet, retweet, retweet. I love that. And thank you so much for being honest, vulnerable. Like that is huge. And you're just like me, like where we're open about it because we want a person, like say we're talking to like a random person and like get on the topic. I'm like, yeah, because I have
exactly.
anxiety. And they're like, whoa. And they're like, how are you so open? And I'm like, well, one, because I'm in like clinical mental health counseling school, and two, because I want it to
Yeah.
be destigmatized. It's like being diagnosed with something, it's a blessing. It's not a detrimental thing or a negative thing. And when people are like, oh, but it could go like on my public record, and so what? If it goes on your public record, then like if it interferes with you getting a job, then
Yeah.
that's on your employer
Yeah.
because
And you
that's
wouldn't want to
just
work for that
wrong.
kind of employer anyway. People who are scared about it, it's
Mm-hmm.
because people have instilled fear into people talking to a psychiatrist because it's never been painted in a good light. We don't see great movies about depression. It's hard. Like but
Oh yeah.
there's nothing like
Oh
there's
yeah.
no way to paint it any other way rather than it is hard, but not talking about it allows other people to not look into it, and they should.
Oh yeah. And the thing you mentioned about the pills, I totally agree on that, but I just don't want people to like
Right.
rely on the pills. Hand in hand, pills and therapy go together. If you just take pills, like how I was doing for my anxiety and depression, like I just kept getting
Yeah.
like worse, 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 more anxiety, and then I was like, okay, like I need to talk to someone because
Yeah,
I'm not
definitely.
okay. um, and like even if people are like nervous about taking pills, you can talk to your doctor and they can do other more like holistic things and more natural things like meditation, actually like a 5 minute walk, like walking, like is
Yes.
so good for you. Like even if
Yes.
it's 5 minutes, because you're walking, you're getting
Yep.
fresh air,
Endorphins are going
and
up. Yeah,
you're just
exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And like I was shocked by like I'm trying to go on like a walk every single day with my dogs, like after work, and just to like for them and my sake, because I'm like I've been indoors
Yes.
for 8 hours. I am coming off my medication. I need to just
Yep. Exactly. Your routine, right? Like that's your routine.
yes, my routine. And then with routines, it's good to have like a if you're able to have like a
Yeah.
accountability partner or like someone where you'd be like, hey, I want to do this. Can
Yeah.
you keep me in check? And like if I'm not doing it,
Yeah.
be honest with
Yeah.
me. And luckily, I have my wife, and I'll be like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Can you
That's
help me?
awesome.
um, yes. All right, all right, all right. I want to get into. No, 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 no. Yes, Nitro. Blah, blah, blah. I guess I just asked that one. There's so many questions. It's covered. Ooh, here's a good one. All right. Blah, blah, blah. All right. It's common for people to experience moments of self doubt. How do you suggest for someone to build resilience and a strong sense of self worth?
See, so recognizing self worth is actually incredibly hard. Something that I struggle with today, like now. Every instance where my anxiety spikes a little bit comes with the insecurity of who let me have this job, who let me be in this apartment, who let me be in this relationship. Like I then you just start spiraling and you're thinking about all the things that you don't deserve, and then you start to overthink it, and you're just right? Like that's the
Mhm.
cycle right there. I see the insecurity, I get anxious about it, can't do anything about it in the moment to get like instant gratification, and I become depressed. And it's silly to
Mhm.
say out loud, but that's how my brain works. That's how I process things. So
Mhm.
whenever I'm talking about self worth, I have to see myself, how I can benefit, what I have to gain from all of this, and understand truly that no one else can make that decision for you, because in times of desperation you will be on your knees asking the person next to you, like, help me, help me get through this, give me the answers that I need. I'll call my sister and be like, why am I feeling this way? What's going on? And she'll try to compartmentalize everything for me and lay it out. And my sister is a godsend. She's amazing. But whenever she does that for me, I can't do anything with that information unless I completely buy into my own self worth. So my advice to others is to keep that communication tight between you and the people who care about you, because they will over and over again tell you and remind you truly what you're worth. And they'll not only tell you, but they will show you in day to day actions that they care about you. And maybe you will never figure out for yourself that you're worthy of whatever it is that you're facing against, but the people around you will always remind you that you are worth every moment of that, and that's super important. So anyone who's struggling with self-identity, make sure you got tight people around you. Don't push anyone out. Bring those people closer in, and if you can't let down your guards right away, just let those people kind of seep into your life any way that they want to, Anyone who doesn't want to will not. So you don't ever have to worry if they are doing it for the wrong or right reasons. Anyone who's there to support you is only there to make sure that you see yourself worth. So that's my advice there.
Yes, let's go. That was so well said. Like that, clip that. That's so well said. Like, I think it's important that we have those people that will flat out tell you, like, oh, you are not doing what you told me that you wanted to do, or hey, that
Right.
I feel blah blah blah. Because when you say how you're feeling, like when you're talking to someone, be like, I feel hurt by the thing
Right.
that you said. It distances or eliminates the blame aspect. And like they'll be like, oh, you're right,
Yeah.
actually. And so, and then also like eliminating those people that
Yeah.
aren't there
I was
for
gonna say you
you,
can lose some people in the
or that
process.
only show up when it's something for them. Like it's like, no,
Yeah.
no, get
Yeah.
out.
And those friendships are hard to come by. I mean, it's not like every single person you come across is fully invested in your mental well being either. And it's not up to friends to be
Oh
that
yeah.
way. But when you do have people who are tight like that, definitely know that, they're ride or dies. And it's hard because, like, I'm
Mm.
going through a process right now where I may be losing a really close friend that's been there for a long time. But whenever you get older, things change and your priorities change. And honestly, it's okay. It's
Mhm.
normal to lose people in this process, but you just end up finding out those people who are really there for you are like just so invaluable.
Oh yeah. I 100% agree with you. Like I was in a similar position of losing a good friend of mine. And I was like super anxious about it, being like, what can I do differently? And then finally I'm like, you know what? Like me worrying about this so much is impacting my mental health. And so I'm choosing to try to do this and force this when I just need to move on.
Exactly.
Like for myself. And I have. And it sucks, but I'm a better person. So I totally agree with you on this self doubt because for me, coming from my previous job, um, not necessarily the center that I was at, but the other one, um, I'm learning that I have some PTSD from it, and so I have
Imposter
imposter
syndrome.
syndrome. Yes, I have a huge imposter syndrome, and that's like something I'm working with my therapist on because when I came to this new job, I probably had like one of the best like managers I've ever had. Like he gave me unconditional like feedback, positive feedback, things I can do better, but in a respectful way where it's not demeaning, where it's like, oh, you did this, and you need to do better. It was with compassion and empathy. And that's something I absolutely love. Shout out to you, Vincent. Awesome, awesome man. Like, and when they were like complimenting me on how I was doing with the residents and coworkers, I was like, I had trouble believing it because I'm like, I've been told that before, but then the next second,
Yeah.
you're the worst. And so I'm like in denial, but I'm slowly breaking down that wall and being confident in myself and realizing I'm a good worker. My therapist is like, based off everything you've told me, I don't know why you're anxious about getting fired because you everything you're telling me is you are class acts. And I was like, huh, You're right.
Well, it's such a shame that like one bad experience made you feel that way, you know? I think everyone feels that way leaving the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a whole year of bad
Yeah.
experiences. Yeah. But the Flugs was goat.
See, I had a really great experience until I moved up the company, and that's whenever it got really hard because when you move up, you gain these responsibilities that you didn't necessarily ask for, but now you have to do. And
Mhm.
sometimes it goes against like what you were truly there in the first place for. You know, like I love the
Oh
therapy
yeah.
side of what I did, but whenever it became operations and you got a KPI to get X amount of kids in the building per month, that's when it becomes challenging. That's when my job is really hard for me.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, like I had to walk away from that too, and I'm at a different place now. But
Mhm.
ABC was a really great starting point in my journey, but really glad to get out of there and like learn from somewhere else.
That is me too. I'm thankful for all the patients I helped, all the
Yeah.
friends I met, and like the like just I have
Yeah.
lifelong friends from them, and I have lifelong learning experiences. But at the end of the day, I'm glad I walked away from them and started this new because it's more in my realm of what
Well,
I
good.
want to do. Since I work at a long-term men's mental health treatment center.
It's amazing.
Yeah, lover.
A funny note that I was looking through my little box of mementos and someone had written something for me, but I think it was meant to go to you because our lockers were right next to each other. But I read a little note that was like, it was pre-filled and it was like, my favorite memory of you was, and someone wrote in, when we couldn't find you on 6th Street. And that made me laugh because I'm like, that wasn't me. That was Kyle that ran away for pizza and we couldn't find him. But it just made me,
That's me. Whenever I'm drinking, I have a sight for pizza, and I won't
dude,
tell anyone.
everyone has their thing. And it's like, if Kyle's gone, he's gone to get pizza. So we wish him luck to find that pizza. Hopefully he's okay.
Oh yeah, dude. I remember like coming back and people
Where
were
were
like,
you?
"Yeah." Like Jose's like, "Where have you been?" And I was like, "I got pizza."
Now everyone just knows to like have your location somewhere and they're like, okay, he's good. He's at the pizza place. He's fine. He's fine.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Pizza is my go-to.
Good.
But all right, Jen, thank you so much for being my first guest and being honest with me and opening up to me. Like appreciate it so much, and I hope a listener hears what you have to say and is empowered to go
Maybe.
get help, reach out to
Hopefully.
someone, because that's the point of this podcast, to spread mental awareness, because mental
Yes,
health
and thanks to you
matters.
for having this idea and for us to just have a conversation. So I hope that you get all kinds of people coming on the show and talking about their experiences. So
Oh,
thanks to
yes.
you.
Awesome. That is the end of episode 2. Until then, take care and keep exploring the world both on and off the green. Thank you.